Welcome to Living with Victory Ministries podcast, brought to you by Teague's Grocery and Corner Cafe at 130 Soco Road in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. In a moment, Tony and Lorraine Giorgio.
Get ready to sing in the rain.
Welcome, everyone. So happy we could be here together. This verse is from Psalm 103:8. I follow the example of the Lord, who is merciful and gracious, slow to anger and plenteous in mercy and loving kindness. The subject today is entitled Slow to Anger, Quick to Forgive, or React or Respond. There is such a difference in those two words. I think we've all been in a place where we have let our anger take control of our tongue, and as soon as the words left our mouth, we wished we had a way to just throw them right back in there, because boy, angry words can just rip a relationship apart that can hopefully be mended by quickly forgiving. It may be mended and never be the same. So that is why God says slow to anger. Think about it before you open your mouth. It's really better to choose your words and just walk away if you have to. So, like I say, I know we've all been there, especially when you're driving on the road and somebody cuts you off. Boy, you really want to tell them so-and-so, but then we don't realize what maybe that person may be going through that day that they did that and didn't even realize that they did it. Tony does have a story about someone who reacted and the results of that act.
This is the ultimate in reacting. True story. I'm not going to use any names. The other point, I guess, here is be careful with your fish decals on your cars and all of that. That is representing you know who and telling people who you are. This person that I'm going to tell you about was in Christian leadership where we used to live. Unbeknownst to everybody, because this person was out there in the entire area as a leader, did something, I guess, that you would say is very reactionary, and I think didn't realize the consequence behind the action. We came to find out that this person was having an affair, and obviously he was not able to get out of the marriage he was in and was very frustrated by the whole situation. So what did he do? Instead of praying about it, letting himself think about it a little more and going to God for advice, he reacted. Now, this is the ultimate reaction, trust me. He went out and hired a hitman. He hired somebody to kill his wife because she wouldn't give him a divorce. He actually paid somebody money to go and kill somebody. His wife. We're talking about someone who professed everything good and how to live, and then turned around and was caught almost in the act of solicitation for murder, and then had to go on trial. Do you know what that caused? He was thinking about 25 years to life. I don't think he was thinking about the thousands of people who used to listen to him on a weekly basis. The ramifications of reacting that way just brought down a lot of people. And this is somebody who, you might say, always carried the signal of the Lord wherever he went. That is a perfect example of what not to do.
A leader that has people following him that love the Lord, to do that, first of all, yes, he could have made a lot of people fall if they weren't strong in their faith and realizing that he was a man that made this mistake and not Christ. But what a black eye he gave to our precious Lord. Because yes, we're to be Christ's ambassadors. We're not to embarrass him. We're here not to embarrass him. We're here to tell people how he loves them. And this man, he couldn't even sit down with his wife and make things right. He knew the word that God said not to leave your wife, not to divorce her, but to make things right. And he didn't even try that. His first reaction was, let me get rid of her, you know. the grass isn't always greener. You got to mow that other lawn too.
We're not being sanctimonious here and trying to down somebody. I'll tell you a quick one because we have time. We were fighting City Hall, so to speak, in our old neighborhood in Florida. And I went to the county commission meeting, I think it was, they have once a month or whatever, and I protested whatever was going on in the neighborhood there. Being from one culture, and I'm not putting the blame on being brought up in Brooklyn, raised on the streets, the chairman sat there and said, "You want to take this outside," is what he said to me. Now, as a kid, if somebody said to me, "You want to take it outside," it means you're in for a fight. I just reacted to this. And by reacting, I just caused total chaos in the meeting. I was carried out by the police, okay? Ended up on the front page of the newspaper because I just reacted instead of responding and saying, "Well, what are you talking about? We're going to have a meeting outside." And of course, now I made enemies throughout this whole deal of trying to get things straightened out. Don't do that. You understand? Just don't react to things. Be very slow to anger. And that was my sin for many years, and still is. I'm better at it, but in my younger days, it caused me a lot of grief, a lot of fights. So I've been there, done that. What you need is to be Christ-like, and not by a bumper sticker, but by your actions.
I think you would diffuse someone who was just as angry as you were at that moment, even if you didn't feel like it, but if you chose to show God's love. They don't know how to handle love. Somebody has to do it. So if you are familiar with Christ's love, then it's really our responsibility to do that so that somebody else can learn from us. I have been there. I have reacted at times, and it's something that I'm really working on because it really can hurt. It can hurt so badly. It really is just not good. We need to follow God's example instead of following angry feelings, so we don't have to create situations that we do regret. And it would avoid strife and keeping your peace, which in turn will have you dancing in the rain because you will feel so good about the fact that you handled the situation properly and put the smile on God's face.
We knew people, husband and wife, that weren't getting along too well, and there was always tensions and arguments and all. And one day, as I'm walking past the house, a dinner plate came flying at my head. We're not used to that sort of thing, see? I had no idea what was going on until another dinner plate came out. After that, I saw my neighbor coming out, running for his life. He was a big boy. This was actually reacting to a situation. There's no reason for that kind of stuff, because if you're going to get yourself to that point, you need to get on your knees, pray to God, or go to counseling, do something of that nature. But these type of things have gotten out of control. And it's the same way with people under so much pressure today when road rage occurs. They're dealing with different things and taking it out on everybody else. You need to be slow to anger, and you need to be quick to forgive.
Proverbs 15:18 says, "I am not a hot-tempered person who stirs up strife, but I am slow to anger, appeasing contention."
Yeah, there you
The
go.
more we stir up strife, first of all, the headache starts,
Oh, yeah.
and then the stomach gets tight, and then you have indigestion, and you've got this anger going on, and the other person doesn't want to know you, and on and on and on. The worst strife really is when it's in the home. That is something you really want to try to avoid at all cost.
To carry on grudges is not a good thing. It really isn't. It hurts you, hurts your well-being, and everybody around you. You know, it just filters through. With the love and the mercy of Jesus Christ, there's no need for that if you follow that example. And I know none of us are perfect.
That's the point. None of us are perfect. So we shouldn't expect the other person to be perfect
Right,
either.
right.
There are times when, you just have your off days.
If we just try to follow along as Jesus told us to, and then everything will be fine. Well, I think we're at that point. Until next week, this is Tony
And Laureen,
saying you keep dancing in the rain because Jesus is your umbrella.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget, you can pick up a copy of Lorraine's book, Climbing Out of Your Despair with God's Promises, locally at the Organic Bean Coffee Company in Maggie Valley, at Teague's Grocery and Corner Cafe on Soco Road, also in Maggie Valley, sponsors of this podcast, and Blue Ridge Books in Hazelwood. It's also available through Amazon and other fine booksellers.
Get ready.